And I am Marcus Barrett. I'm course manager for English language. And English language, you'll find, is a very different subject at A-level than it was at GCSE. One of the key things about English language is it is about sheer variety. We look at old language from 1600 onwards. We look at new things, so text messaging. And here we've got one example of one of the many books we look at, David Crystal's book on texting, The Great Debate. How does social media influence our language? Looking at male and female language and where there are differences. Looking at speech and looking at writing. So very different from the sort of thing you've been doing at GCSE.
I enjoy mostly analysing the language, kind of looking at where words come from, what they mean, and just how they contribute to the overall message.
So when people ask why do English language, the key, I think, answer to that is variety. The fact that we're looking at spoken language as well as written language. The fact that we're looking at recent language and how words are changing and developing almost on a daily basis. But we're also looking at journalistic language. We look at how language is used in the media, how language is used to persuade. We look at legal language, we look at journalism, we look at blogs. There's so much different data in English language, and we actually use the word data because looking at text isn't quite the same as looking at all sorts of different messages and all sorts of different speech. So it really is about variety. So in terms of course content, I'll give you a little bit of an overview. There are two different papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 in the first year looks at written language, looks at topical language issues, for instance how gender and language come together, how technology and language come together, and also how language is used as a tool of power. We're also looking at the differences and similarities between spoken text and written texts, and all sorts of language controversies like does spelling matter? How do we feel about different accents? It's really interesting to see that over time, urban accents have gone up and down in public popularity. In the days of the Industrial Revolution, we didn't like urban accents, but now Liverpool, Manchester, different accents around the country are considered as popular and desirable. So we're really interested in current issues to do with language and linguistics, as well as a historical view of how language has developed. So it'll come as no surprise that we're really interested in what other people have written about language. And here's just one example of a dictionary. This is an American dictionary. This is Webster's Dictionary of American Language. You can see this is a weighty volume. If I tell you that the Oxford English Dictionary has 21 volumes, all of similar size, covering nearly 500,000 words, nearly 500,000 different words, then you can see we've got a lot of things to play with across this course. So let's explore perhaps how an individual class would work in English language. There's usually a bit of data, a piece of transcripted speech or a piece of writing that we would look at in class. We would have a discussion around it. There would be questions about it. Quite often we'll use another form of media, like we might use some YouTube extracts or some TED Talks. And then there'll be a little bit of writing just to get a sense of how students actually write their analysis of that piece of data. Very important for me in this course is working together collaboratively. So students will often look at each other's work, will self-mark and peer-mark each other's work. And one very important thing is the language mentoring system, whereby a Year 2 student will be a mentor to a Year 1 student. So there's that constant working together ethos going across our course.
The lessons are quite interactive, they're quite engaging, we really talk and contribute all our ideas and just really expand on our knowledge. My teacher is very supportive, he really does give us a lot of advice and support regarding English, and I think it's very useful to have someone who really cares about what you're doing.
So this A-level, along with many others, is assessed with 2 academic papers taken at the end of the 2-year course. They're both worth 40%, paper 1, paper 2. Paper 2 has more unusual linguistic topics. It has child language acquisition, looking at how children's speech develops through their first 6 or 7 years. Really interesting to see how the magic of language unfolds. We also look at language in the media, looking at journalism and social media and how language is used as a tool there. And also, intriguingly, we look at language development from 1600 up to the present day. So right up to date with looking at the internet and the massive implications that's had on language, but also going right back to pre-Shakespearean language and looking at older grammar and syntax and all sorts of interesting language change. There is, of course, also the really important element of coursework, which is worth 20%. 3/4 of that is an independent language investigation, where you, in combination with us, take your own topic and research a piece of data and write a 2,500 word report on it. And the other part of that is a 5% academic poster. And as you'll see, there are some fantastic examples of academic posters that look really professional, and it's actually a really useful training for the sort of thing you'd be doing at university as well. In terms of what students go on from our course to do, there's a wide variety. Many students take on their interest in child language further, so many go into things like secondary school teaching or primary school teaching or working with speech and language difficulties. But equally, we have many students who go into the professions. Lots go into law. I was a lawyer myself. I can see the clear links between looking at language detail and preparing a brief. But we also have students who go into journalism and communication and creative writing. And English language lends itself to a wide variety of things at university. You could do communication, you could do linguistics, you could do creative writing, you could do journalism. So it's really a wide open door on a very interesting future if you take English language A-level. But there is a warning here, and that is that English language at A-level is quite different from GCSE in the sense that there is no formal creative writing. You will not be writing stories as such. There's an element, as I've said, of journalistic writing, where you might perhaps be producing a blog about an area of language interest. So say, for instance, how do we feel about slang? Writing that as a blog, but as such there's no creative writing of writing short stories. And students quite often are quite surprised when they come up from GCSE English language to find that that element of creative writing is only available outside the course in the enrichment rather than on the formal specification. And if you're really interested in writing and you really want to get your name into print, why not join in with the college creative writing competition, which could lead you to having prizes and also could lead you to being included in the college creative writing publication, Create magazine. There are some fantastic opportunities to really get your trade craft honed and practiced, and that can start from within English language, or of course you can combine that with other subjects.
I really enjoy looking at the difference between spoken and written texts and how they differ. It's just fascinating to look at. I really love how it's developed, and I just like looking at the change and how it was before and where it is now. I definitely recommend English language to students. It's a great course to do, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
So it's been a pleasure to talk to you about English language, and I hope I've shared some of my huge enthusiasm for words in whatever shape or form or date they come in. They are around us all the time, and it is an absolute privilege to talk to you about them and to share them with you on this fantastic course. So we very much look forward to seeing you, and please do come along and experience English language at A-level. Thank you. Bye-bye.